All right, welcome back everybody. Well, recently I put out a video on how to play Wicked Game by Chris Isaak, and so many of you responded so favorably to that and asked for another one from that guitar player, James Wilsey, who played with Chris on their first 4 albums. So I'm going to take on Lie to Me by Chris Isaak, and again, guitar player is James Wilsey with that just great distinctive sound. And I very much think that this song is actually a part 1. It's like a test run for Wicked Game. You know, they put this song out. It had this very same, lot of similarities, which I'll talk about. But I'll walk through all of the detailed, great guitar work that James does on this and talk a little bit about the guitar tone and everything. And we'll walk through that in detail today. So if this is the kind of thing that you like and you haven't done so yet, I invite you to jump down and click subscribe and ring the bell. The bell will let you know when I drop new content, which I do every single week. All my lessons have chapters in them, so you can jump right to the part of the lesson that you want to see and bypass what you don't. And if you're looking for other ways to support the channel, I really appreciate that. There's thanks, which is just like throwing a tip in the tip jar. Or even better, you can join my Patreon page where I've got chord charts and tabs for all the lessons I do on YouTube, just like this one. And the link's in the description, so check it out. Okay, so Lie to Me. So this was put out a couple years before Wicked Game. This was 86 or 7, I want to say. I call it the Green Album. I don't know what the name of the album is. Looks like this. And yeah, this is just a super, super cool song. And there's only 3 chords to it. And I could never really figure out how to get that riff right that he's playing. But you'll notice I got this capo on here on the 3rd fret, and that is the secret sauce for how he plays this riff, how James Wilsey plays all the super cool riffs on this song like you hear it on the record. So that is step 1. Step 2, in terms of tone, if you want to get sort of close to what you're hearing on the record, to me it sounds very much Strat. I'm going to go on what I call position 4, which is the in-between of the neck and the middle. Healthy amount of reverb, some delay, and there's some vibrato on there, vibrato or tremolo, whatever you want to call it. I'll have details of my signal chain. I'm running into my super reverb back here that I've got some tremolo and reverb lined up on, and I've got some delay, but it sounds like this. Right? So that gets you sort of in the ballpark. I'll put all the details again in the description below. But like I said, there's really 3 chords to this song, and they're going to be super interesting voicings, okay? Now the bass, sometimes when I'm trying to figure out if there's fancy chords, I sort of root myself in, well, what's the bass doing? Because usually the bass oftentimes is playing the sort of root note that you're basing the chord off of. And there's basically 3 notes. The bass is playing a G, an F, and a C 99% of the time, right? Those are the sort of 3 home positions of the chords, right? So it's a G minor is sort of the first chord. The next note he goes to is an F. And Chris Isaak, who plays rhythm guitar, probably plays pretty straight chords on this. So he's probably, and he's not using a capo, Chris isn't. He's doing sort of straight G minor. And then he's doing an F, I think it's you would call it an F6 chord. Let me take the capo off for a second. So it's sort of there, and then that sort of voicing of an F. It's important that you carry on that D note. And then the next chord is it's a C9. And you could play it that way with the major 3rd. You can also sort of do it like that. But just forgetting the capo for a moment, I just find it useful to know where it is sort of chord-wise what we're doing, right? So it's sort of G minor, F6, and a C9. You know, the common notes that you're sort of playing around are these throughout all of the chords. So I'm going to put this capo back on and Stand by while I check my tuning. Be right back.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
And we're back. Okay, so what's super interesting here is the voicings that James Wilsey has on each one of these chords, okay? So let's just start with the very intro lick, right? So the first voicing is this, and we're basing first chord is a G minor, remember? So it's just those three strings, 4, 3, and 2. Then he's moving to this position, right? I'll talk about the chords in just a minute. That's the second one. And the third one is this position. Back down. Right, so it's just going up, those three, back down and up again. Right, so that's the sort of, that's the vibe, and that's the chord shapes that he's playing over that. So he doesn't have to play all the strings on the neck, right? You're just playing really those 4, 3, and 2. Every once in a while, you're sprinkling in that first string. But that's it. One, here's your first chord shape. Second, third, back down to 2, back down to 1. So that's the intro. That's all it is, and it is all made possible by this capo. And by the way, Hershel, forget his last name, Chris Isaak's guitar player after James, since the 90s, like forever now. Also an amazing guitar player. He's so good. I've seen those guys live a couple times. He doesn't use the capo. So stay tuned at the end of the lesson. I'll show you how he does his voicings at the very end. Involves a big stretch, but I'll show you that too. Okay, so that was the intro shapes. So those are the shapes on the intro. Now on the verses, he's going to do almost the exact same shapes. He's changing the third chord just slightly. He's adding a note to it. But the big thing to remember is that you're going to palm mute. So you're going to take the meat of your palm there and you're going to lay it back here on the strings next to the bridge where you're just sort of touching the strings a little bit. And you want to find that sweet spot where the string is muted a little bit, but not totally, not totally muted, but you want to have a little bit of the tone of the string coming out, right? So you'll find that sort of sweet spot, but you're going to be plucking strings 4, 3, and 2 again. That's the first chord, right? Just going back and forth. Now the third chord now is a little different. Remember last time we did this? And that's just a piece of that C9 chord. If you were to extend the rest of that C9 chord, you would also have this note. And you would also have this note. Right? But he's not doing that last one. The bass is playing that note, but he's going to add this major third. This is a E note. Right? But you can just barely hear that on the record. He hits that note in there. There is a woman to see. Just makes it so much more interesting, right? And when you combine that note with what the bass is playing on the C, it's so mysterious, right? Such a beautiful, beautiful way to have that chord voiced. An alternate way you could play that chord is like this. You don't have that note in there. but it still works. And you know, your fingers are sort of already in that position from the second chord. Jump, right? And I think sometimes he actually does that. I think he bounces back between and, but I definitely hear this one because you hear that unison note. Anyway, so one more time on the verse. And the turnaround, right before he goes into it again, he takes that muting off and he hits that. Like that. And if you get that in there every once in a while, that even better. Notice when I'm changing my chord positions too, I'm also like taking my fingers off the strings, but I'm plucking that open G string or an open third string, which works. Right? So just a little fix. He works those in every once in a while. So then it's the chorus part, and the chorus is sort of like what we did in the intro. He's taking his, he's not palm muting. Right? And goes around again. So that's the lie to me. So really, we've learned two things. We've learned that riff, and we've learned the palm muting during the verses. Whoops. Right? So that gets you all the way to the guitar solo now. And the guitar solo, beautiful. There's a little bit of an A-B to it. So it's very similar. He goes around, does almost the same thing both times. And it's very purposeful because what he does on the guitar solo, he actually does on the outro, we'll see too. It's the exact same sort of voicing. But so I'll show you how that goes. I'll just demonstrate it first and then we'll break it down. Okay, so you're just building it, and notice not a lot of movement there, and it's great having some dissonant strings rubbing against each other, but it's all based around this G minor. And you're going to start off by just individually arpeggio plucking that G minor. And you're plucking it hard too. And you're finishing it off with those two second and third strings together. So that's the first half. Okay, that's the first half. The second time around, it's almost the same. He waits a beat. So instead of, he's waiting a beat after the turnaround. So that's eighth note, all eighth notes there. So that's all the same to that point. And then he pauses just a sec, and he goes to his second chord, third chord, That's how he gets out of it. So both of those together slowly. Back to your verse. So all the way around again. And then when you get to the outro, it's a combination of the guitar solo section that we just learned and the sort of chorus section. So he does a round of the normal chorus, which is the same as the intro, right? Goes around with that fully around, and then he does the round of the exact same guitar solo. Now we're back to the chorus. And then on the second half of, we're in the outro, but we're doing the chorus part. The second half of this one, we're just gonna sort of slow it down, retard the beat at the very end. Here we go. Yeah, and that's all there is to that. So like I said, the capo is the magic touch to get it, you know, sounding just right, just like the record. But as I mentioned earlier, Chris's current guitar player doesn't play with the capo. So when he's doing his parts, you know, he's doing his verses like, or something to that effect, right? And then when he gets to the big sort of riff, he does that amazing stretch. I mean, look at that. I forget, oh, maybe I need to use my middle finger. Then he does this. He's just swapping them back and forth. How hard is that, man? But he's been doing it for years that way, so it's probably easy for him, but. And all those notes work. It's all sort of different inversions of those chords, but that allows him to be able to play all of that without, you know, without needing the capo. So anyway, so that was Lie to Me by Chris Isaak, and another absolute guitar arrangement gem by James Wilsey, his guitar player on his first 4 albums. So I hope you learned something new today. If this is the kind of thing you like and you haven't done so yet, please jump down, click subscribe, ring the bell. Bell lets you know when I drop new content. I do that every single week. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this, and if there's another song you want me to take on and do similar, let me know what that is. But until next week, take care, everybody.